to this episode of Just Craftin' Around. I am Lisa Oxner, and no, you're not confused. This is not bingo. I am Kelly's latest guest on Just Crafting Around. Today we are going to be doing a teacher flower pot, and you don't have to use it as a flower pot. You could put candy in there, or you could put your pencils and markers, that type of thing in there. So I'm going to attempt to show you how to make this. You need a clay pot and then the water dish for it. You could use any size that you want. We kind of picked a medium size. You also need either black paint, or we actually got the chalkboard paint. You know, since it's a teacher thing, it's kind of cool to be able to write on it as a chalkboard. We also got some yellow paint. We went with a little bit more of a school bus color, if you want to say, than bright yellow. You need paint brushes. You'll need a tape measure to make the ruler around the top, some Sharpies, a pencil, and then either some chalk or a chalk pen. All right, let's get started here. I am going to start with the yellow paint first. And then with this one, I painted the bottom dish all yellow, and I just put some black polka dots on there. You could do whatever you choose. And this is gonna need a few coats to cover. It'll look kind of streaky the first couple times you paint it. You can see it doesn't cover very well with just one coat, so you will need to do it multiple times. This would be something kind of neat for either the first day of school or the last day of school, to show your teachers that you appreciated them putting up with your kid all year long. You could add more to this if you wanted. You could probably find like a little apple button or something you could glue on there. It's kind of, this is just the general idea of it, but you could obviously change it however you want. So that's one coat. I'm also gonna do all the way down to the bottom so that when it's sitting on their desk, you don't see the terracotta pot. Your fingers probably will get a little messy, but this paint washes off pretty easy, so not too big of a deal. Something your kids could easily help you with. It's not a challenging project at all. My sister is actually a teacher, so I think she'll be getting one of these that she can display in her classroom next year. Okay, we're gonna let that first coat dry a little bit on that. Now for the pot itself, we are just gonna paint the top rim yellow for the ruler. I'm just gonna freehand it. I'm gonna make sure that it overlaps onto the little bit of the lip under the rim. And then it doesn't have to be perfect. You can cover it up with the black chalk paint when we put that on, so. And then I'm also gonna paint inside here. On this one I painted down in it, so if you do plant a flower or whatever, a lot of the pot will be covered up then, but the inside rim will at least be a pretty yellow. Of course, this too is going to need a few coats of the yellow, so you do need to have some patience when you're working on this project. As always, if you are interested in being a guest on the show, or if Kelly catches you on the street and manages to finagle you into doing this, It's really not that bad. It's actually pretty fun. But we're always looking for people that are interested in sharing their talents and abilities. You can either get a hold of Kelly or I, or call the office, stop in. I know there's lots of people in our surrounding areas that have very cute craft ideas. Being on camera isn't really that bad. Okay, we're gonna work on painting this inside, and I'm just gonna go down right to where you can see the rim ends. Or if there's a certain craft project that you'd like to see how it's done, let us know. We'll see what we can come up with. Pinterest is a very addicting thing that so many of us find cute ideas on, but I have yet to try a lot of those ideas. Okay, so we're gonna set this aside for just a minute, and we're gonna go back to the little tray. We're gonna work on putting another coat on this. Of course, we used Kelly's secret and put wax paper down so that we don't make a mess. In the first few coats, you don't really have to be overly particular with how you paint it on there. The last one though, you maybe kind of want to pay attention. Try and do it all in the same direction so that at least all your bristle streaks are one way instead of all over the place. They aren't quite as noticeable that way. So that's after 2 coats. We'll probably give it another one. I'm gonna set that down for a second before we flip it over. Like I said, your fingers are going to get dirty. So you just keep on adding coat after coat until you are satisfied with how it looks. I don't really want to see any of the clay pot through there, so that one I think I ended up putting about 3 coats on. And it's not going to be perfect, but you definitely don't want it to be obvious.
.4G LTE is available now with Valley Cellular. We have new plans and new phones. Bring your own phone if you love your cell phone but not your cell phone provider. We can activate any compatible handset on our network. Call Valley today at 437-2615.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the dish. We need a little more paint. And these clay pots you can find pretty much anywhere. I think Walmart actually has them out basically all year round because of all the crazy craft ideas people have come up with. So right now, Menards, pretty much any place would have them at this time of year, but Just one more coat. I always looked forward to the first day of school. I don't know, maybe I was one of those nerdy kids, but it was pretty much just the first day that I looked forward to, and then it was old news after that. But you had all your new school supplies and new first day of school outfit, a new backpack. Fun to go back and see how much all your classmates had changed over the summer. And now this summer, I have my 10-year class reunion already. I'm not really sure how that happened, but and if you go out on the internet and search, there's all kinds of ideas you can do with these clay pots. It doesn't have to be teacher oriented, I guess, to give it to your teacher. You could paint whatever you wanted on here. Seen the ones where they just take these bottles of paint and squirt them right over the top and let it drip down the sides. Those end up looking pretty neat. Okay, just touch up the inside yet, and we'll set it aside and let it dry pretty good. Okay, give this one last little look over. Yep, this one definitely still needs another coat, so add a little more paint here. And just squirt in a little paint at a time. It's much easier to squirt it out than to attempt to put it back in, so. I think this last coat will do it. So like I said, you want to make sure that you kind of try to paint in the same direction, get it put on there, but then you maybe want to go around one last time and make sure all the bristle marks go in the same way. And it's not super noticeable once it's dry, but okay, so we're gonna set this aside and let it dry for a little bit, and when we come back we will start working on the black part with the chalkboard paint.
Valley's Mobile Command Center is coming to a town near you. Stop in at Valley's Mobile Command Center to learn more about our services, see and test some of our products, ask questions, or just to visit with us. Make sure to check your newsletter for specific dates and times when we will be rolling into your town.
Valley Telecommunications, the home team advantage.
Okay, so we let the yellow dry for a little bit, and now we are going to start on the chalkboard part. We picked up this Krylon chalkboard paint at Hobby Lobby, and you literally can write on it like a chalkboard. So, whoops, we're going to make a mess, and we're going to put a few coats of the chalkboard paint on here. I am just going to freehand it around the top of the rim. If you want to get really specific, I suppose you could tape it off, but I'm just going to wing it. On this other one, I did try it first with a foam brush, and that did not work well. The paint did not cover very good at all, so a normal paintbrush definitely works better. And this does cover pretty good, so we're probably just going to do 2 coats of this just to make sure we have it all covered in case we miss something the first go around. I'm sure you can buy this paint at Walmart, Lowe's. A lot of places are really getting into having pretty much all craft supplies, even if they aren't a craft store, it seems like. And if you get it at Walmart and you don't see it in the craft section, be sure to go over to the actual paint section. I'm not sure where it would be located there, but if you don't find it in one spot, it very well could be in the other. I've seen a lot of neat things done with this chalkboard paint. People that have painted doors or the front of their refrigerator, which would be kind of neat. My little guy's probably getting to the point where he'd have fun scribbling with chalk on the front of the fridge if I let him. This chalkboard paint definitely does have a little bit of a scent to it, but it's not too bad. I believe you can also get this in spray paint in a can like that too. And I'm going to paint the bottom of it with the chalkboard paint too, just for good measure. You obviously don't have to, but... Okay, and while we let that layer dry, we're going to decorate, excuse me, the tray just a little bit. This one, I just took some of the spouncers and put a little paint on them and dipped them right on there. So we got just a random polka dot pattern. You don't have to do that. You could paint, you know, just the outside part black, whatever you come up with in your mind. So we're just gonna put a little paint on here. And you might have to take a normal paintbrush and put a little paint on it and go over. Otherwise you see the bubbles from the sponge. You don't want to put too much paint on these because when you push down it's just going to ooze out, and that's not what you're looking for either. And these work pretty good when you try and put them on the side. They're flexible enough that they kind of contour to the shape of the tray. Like I said, you don't have to do this. It's just something a little fun and extra. Kind of makes the whole project blend together. And I do have 2 different sizes of these. So I'm just going to take a normal paintbrush and go back in here and just touch that up a little bit before we start with the small one. And of course there's no rhyme or reason to how I put these on there. I'm going to add one more big one over in this corner. Now we're going to start with a little one. I'm going to add just a few around the top edge so it doesn't look bare, so that it all kind of blends in together. Like I said, you don't want to get too much paint in these or it will ooze out in places you don't want it to. And you don't have to push nearly as hard as you think you might. Okay. So there we have our random polka dotted pattern. You can add more, you can add less, you could add it around the outsides here. I'm just going to leave it like that for now, so we're going to set that back aside. And we are going to put our second coat of the chalkboard paint on the pot. So we're going to attempt to pick this back up. Kind of the nice thing about having that drainage hole on the bottom is you got a place to hold on to it. This really did cover nice with the first coat. I guess I'm just being more cautious in case I missed any little spots that the second coat should fill in. And it looks like we could do quite a few of these with the chalkboard paint that we have. This does not take very much at all. Be kind of fun to put on your pantry door and then have chalk there so that you can write down your grocery list. Like I said, I've seen all kinds of crazy ideas, and again, Pinterest is one of those spots that will give you more ideas than you know what to do with. Again, this is something that your kids could most definitely help make. If they did, you maybe wanna have them take a paint pen or something and just write their name on the bottom with maybe what grade the teacher taught with them that year, so that the teacher will always remember too in the years to come when they use it. So we are gonna let that dry, and then when we come back, we are gonna work on putting the ruler around the top edge.
Stay in and stay cool with video TV service from Valley. Sign up now and save up to $55 on installation, plus receive 1 month of service free. Call Valley today at 437-2615.
Okay, so we let the pot dry. We put the yellow paint on and then the chalkboard paint. We let it dry till it was nice and dry, and then I started already. We just took this nice flexible ruler so that you can wrap it around the pot, and started marking off the inch mark is what I started with. So I marked each inch mark, and then I moved the tape measure down so that it was equal with the bottom. And then I went around again and made the mark a little bit longer so that they were all the same length. And then I moved it back up and I did the 1/2 inch and then the 1/4 inch all the way around, trying to make each line the same length so that it looked even. And then you could either leave it at that or you could get specific to exactly how a tape measure is. I did do it on here. And what I used after I drew it on with pencil, that's where your Sharpies come in. I have 2 different ones. I've got one with a little bit more of a broad tip on it. That is what I used for the inch mark, and I'm also going to use for the 1/2 inch and the 1/4 inch. And then for the little tiny ones in between, I've got a very fine tipped one. So I'm going to continue marking. They do have paint pens also. That was originally what I was going to use, but this I think would be a lot quicker. If you use the paint pens, you would of course have to wait for them to dry in between, where the Sharpie is kind of a nice instant. And I've never used the paint pens before, so I'm not sure if you get a good even flow with them. The Sharpie, at least, you can be pretty assured that you're not going to get a big blob of paint all of a sudden when you're trying to do these fine lines. And it actually does show up really good with this paint. I wasn't sure how it would work, but I figured I'd give it a try, and it actually did turn out very well. And I guess if you're comfortable enough, you can mark it with a Sharpie right away. I'm not, so I did it with pencil first. And you just keep going around and around until you're at the very end. And it was surprising, this is actually 19 inches around. I didn't think it would be that much. Okay, now I'm going to take my fine tipped one and I'm going to do all the little dashes in between. It looks like there's 3 of them between each line. This is a little more tedious than the rest. Like I said, you don't have to go into this grade of detail if you don't want to. And these I'm not taking the time to be super official with. I'm just making the 3 little lines in between each one. And no, I cannot focus on anything but this right now. Sorry. You gotta be getting close to the end. This might even be a good learning lesson if you have your kids help you with it. Learn about inches, millimeters, centimeters. Okay, so we got all of the marks all the way around. The one other thing we have to do is put the numbers on. You can start anywhere you want, obviously. You can either write these on with a pencil and then trace over them. That is what I did the first time. I'm getting brave and I'm not doing it this time, so hopefully I don't mess up. Almost there. I would definitely keep a paper towel or your wax paper on your table when you're doing this, just so that when your pot's rubbing against it, the paint doesn't chip off onto your surface. Alright, so we got all the way around to 19. And the very last thing that you could do to it, on this one, I wrote number 1 teacher. If you wanted to plant a flower in there for your teacher, you could write another message on there. Thanks for helping me grow. So like I said at the beginning, you could either use it for a pen and pencil holder. You could plant a flower in there for them. They could use it as a candy dish. But I guarantee any teacher around here would love to get that for either the beginning of school or the end of school. Thanks for joining us today for this episode of Just Craftin' Around. Come back next month for a whole new set of ideas.